Good morning, everybody. It's your girl, Rachel Salt Marshall. Now, see my hair. I'm trying to make a decision as to whether I'm going to take this stuff down and just cut my hair completely off, platinum blonde it, and throw a banging can on up in here. I'm trying to make that decision, y'all. I'm trying to make that decision. This getting older, blood pressure pills and can on, and stuff affecting my hair growth and can on. It's just really working my nerve. But anywho, that's not what I want to talk to y'all about this morning. What I want to talk to y'all about this morning is Detroit home renovations. Oh my goodness. I see the pictures. Folk go into our Detroit homes and, many a times they're out of state investors. Some of them are, in state investors. But a lot of us, know the uniqueness and, the craft work and so on and so forth that has gone into many Detroit homes. Now, in some areas, of course, you can't do anything as far as with the exterior of the property because those properties reside in historic neighborhoods. And so, in a historic neighborhood, anything that you want to do to the exterior of that property has to be approved by the Detroit Historic Commission. So once your permit goes through, drawings go through, and so on and so forth, they're either going to approve them or they're going to disapprove them or they're going to make recommendations as far as to exactly what they want to see. And also vendors to be utilized and things like that as far as for windows, for doors, and so on and so forth. And so that being the case, the exterior of the homes are preserved, you know. However, we have some beautiful interiors of some homes with ornate crown work, you know, um, trim work, custom wood casing, molding, and so on and so forth around the doors, the windows, the ornate plastered crown molding and things like that in many of these properties that you're not going to see anywhere else, you know. And so we get these young folk, you know, and then you get some older ones that just have no clue as far as to exactly what it is that they're tearing out of these properties. It's like for some reason folk don't think, maybe I can get a plasterer to make a mold as far as of this crown. And so when I open up this floor to make it look like every other house, with these open floor plans, that I can in turn have this ornate crown molding, continue around the room and or, mimic what was originally in this artwork or in this archway, so that my property stands apart from everybody else's. We end up with these remodels where they just tear everything out and everything is just so cubical, just big ass blank rectangles, big ass blank squares, just what the hell, and then everybody's on this floating, vinyl tip, where we have ornate, custom oak, redwood, floors, and they just go in and just cover them up with floating vinyl. It's like the ugliest shit in the world. I'm sorry. I just don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. I'm a fan of real wood floors. And some may say, well, they have the floating vinyl, the floating floors, and they're real wood too. It's not the same. You're talking about this to this. You know what I'm saying? And then a floor that's soft. You walk on it and it's soft. Oh, miss me with all the bullshit. Seriously. You know. But it's like some of these flippers really need to get a clue. And a lot of times they're like, well, that doesn't fit in the budget. We're just trying to, do this, that, and the third to, pull back out, what we put in, yada, 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 and make a profit. But then you end up with this housing stock in historic areas that have been drastically just muddled over in the inside, and they just have no more character left to them. It's like, come on now, just make it make sense. Why do that? You know what I'm saying? I can understand, you're going into a property and it has wood trim and the wood trim has been painted over God knows how many times, and maybe to, change it all out is going to be extremely expensive and everything. But there are lumber mills, in the area where you can actually get that same baseboard trim, that same molding that was around the doors and the windows and so on and so forth. You can get it milled and you can replicate it, to at least give the home some character. Instead of going to Home Depot and buying that 5.5 inch baseboard trim and slapping that little, 3/4 round, in the front of it and just making it look like every other rehab. So now that home, that beautiful home that sits in this historic district no longer has, 3/4 to 5/8 inch thick walls. You know, it has 1/2 inch thick walls. And then it no longer has true 3/4, inch unique ornate wood baseboard trimming and molding, case molding around the doors and the windows and, original, plaster crown, around the ceiling and around the archways in the property that set that property apart. Well, when you walked into it, it was just like, wow, you know, these were real artisans. The work that you see now, just a drywaller. That's it. Nothing unique, just a drywaller. Most people don't like, you know, plaster textured walls. I love them. You find so many different, designs within the city of Detroit. I not too long ago looked up on one, and I mean, it was just really really unique. I can't even really describe it. It was almost like the chicken um, feet plaster design in the walls, but then it had like these really thick, almost the size of like a giant cigar or something in the within the plaster work. That's an art form that's just, oh my God, it's just unparalleled to what they do today. We want to buy it and stick it on the walls now, to make it look unique. It's just crazy. I don't like flat walls. I'm a fan of textured walls. I'm sorry. But, think about, that rehab. If you go in and you see ornate plaster, try your damnedest to save it. Have yourself a plasterer come out, make a mold of it. And we have several of them here in the city of Detroit that can make a mold of it and everything and actually continue it on. You know, we want to open up the floor plans. That's all fine and dandy, but give it some character. Just open spans with absolutely, just nothing to set it apart. And then you want to go on and list it for, 250, $300,000, and you've just cheapened it because now the strength of it is no more. Because it's clad with all of this 1/2 inch drywall. It's just ah ah. And mind you, I'm speaking about my Detroit homes because in a lot of the other areas, they were built in haste because, of course, once we started to infiltrate other portions as far as of Detroit, folks started to move out. And when they moved out, they needed someplace else to go in quickly. So that's why you have other neighborhoods that weren't established until the, 1960s, and so on and so forth. We have one community that was established, and I tripped out. I believe it was like 1990, I believe. Um, but there are numerous communities that were started, and so of course you see the homes. You can tell they were built in haste, and they pretty much are falling apart hastily. You hear me? So, anywho, y'all, it's your girl Rachel Saltmarsh, the Black Lady Contractor, with Aldo and Rose Contractors, and I'm out.